PlayStation 5 Pro, and how it advances gaming technology.
So recently they revealed the PS5 Pro and everyone and their mama thinks this is a scam. Now personally, I do play on PlayStation, but I also play on every single console. Now I do like PlayStation, but the only problem I have with this console is that it is $700 and you get nothing with it. You have to buy the stand separately and it has no disk drive. And I believe the stand for the PlayStation is about $100, so you have to spend $800 on this console. Who thought of this? I'm gonna go ahead and apologize for any background noise you may hear. As you know, the Avengers are always outside. They're currently fighting Ultron, who's committing the biggest crime of all, which is rolling all your windows down to play music as loudly as you possibly can from your car. I don't know why people do that, but please stop doing that. It gets annoying, or at least pick a better song. But anyway, let's get into one of the worst console reveals I've ever seen. Subscribe because you're chill like that.
When PS5 debuted in 2020, it brought a lot to the table. 8 Zen 2 CPU cores form the brains of PlayStation 5 and enable high-speed complex gameplay, with character counts reaching into the hundreds.
I don't know why they chose to phrase it like the PS5 is the only console to ever exist that could hold 100 characters. I don't know if they realize this, but you can run Fortnite on the Switch. Every Fortnite match is 100 people.
Graphics modes. It can be a difficult choice for players. Fidelity modes emphasize the visuals, typically through higher resolution rendering. These modes might also have enhanced detail or use more ray tracing. But the games only run at 30 frames per second. The visuals can be choppier and the controls less responsive. Performance modes emphasize frame rate and interactivity, typically choosing to run at 60 frames per second.
I don't think I've ever seen a PS5 game run 30 FPS, and I don't even think I'm on performance mode. I might be, but I'm not sure. But I don't believe for a second that either of those games are at 30 FPS. They show lots of examples of 30 FPS right next to 120 FPS, and I kid you not, they look like the exact same video. I'll show it to you later on, but you'll have a better time finding where's Waldo than where the difference is.
When asked to decide on a mode, players are choosing performance about 3/4 of the time. Removing that decision, or at least narrowing that divide, is one of the key targets for PlayStation 5 Pro. We want to give players the graphics that the game creators aspire to, at the high frame rates that players typically prefer. To do that, PS5 Pro substantially improves over PlayStation 5 in 3 ways. Here's what we call the Big 3.
So the main selling point is that it runs 60 FPS, which is the same thing the PS4 can do. And I know they're talking about the big 3 right now, but it looks like the minute 3. You will barely even notice any improvements in the footage that they're gonna show, but I guess that it is improvement, but it's not $700 worth of improvement.
First, we made the GPU much larger and increased the speed of the memory it uses. The result is rendering that's up to 45% faster. Second, we made major upgrades to the ray tracing, taking a streamlined and accelerated approach that allows calculation of the rays at double or even triple the speeds of PlayStation 5. And finally, we added custom hardware for machine learning and an AI library called PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, or PSSR for short. PSSR analyzes the game images pixel by pixel and can add an extraordinary amount of detail, which boosts the effective resolution of the games.
A lot of people are still on the fence about AI, so I'm pretty sure that's not a great selling point to use. I just don't recall a time when I was ever playing a game and I was like, you know what I need? AI upscaling. That would really make this game much more fun. And in the image you show, it looks basically the exact same. I literally didn't see a difference.
Game creators are adding PS5 Pro support to new and existing titles. And with the big 3 involved, the results can be pretty amazing, with graphics showing something like fidelity levels of detail, but at double the frame rate. Here's The Last of Us Part 2 running on PS5 Pro. It has huge amounts of detail and targets a super smooth 60 frames per second. Let's compare this to the fidelity mode on PS5, which is only running at 30 frames per second and is therefore much choppier.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it looks exactly the same. Not to mention The Last of Us 2 has a PS5 remaster, so it can already run 60 frames per second if you just change it to performance mode. I wouldn't say it looks so different that I'm willing to spend $700 on a new console, when I can get the exact same results by pushing a different button. And keep in mind, the base PS5 runs 120 FPS. They're just purposely not mentioning that, because you need a special TV or monitor to run 120 FPS on it, and it's going to be the exact same thing for the PS5 Pro. This console is the exact exact same as the PS5, and I get that it's the Pro version, but there's nothing really that pro about it.
This goal of delivering almost fidelity-like graphics at performance frame rates has been achieved for a broad set of titles, including Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. We can see that PS5 Pro is close to doubling the power of PlayStation 5. Another way to compare the two consoles is to look at PS5 Pro versus Performance mode on PS5, both of which target 60 frames per second. What we see here is a difference in detail. PS5 Pro is much sharper and crisper than PS5.
I've been staring at this for hours, and it took me almost a day to notice a single difference in the photo. The only thing I can notice is that one blade of grass looks a little bit clearer, and the window is slightly more gray, but at the same time, those changes are not worth $700 in my opinion.
For this, my favorite is the parade scene from Ratchet & Clank. Distant details are much clearer. And here we can see Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is noticeably higher resolution throughout the scene, including the trees and procedural cars. So overall, some remarkable improvement to the games. On PS5 Pro, we can see increased sharpness to the graphics or smoother and more responsive gameplay. This is the big three showing their value. As you've been seeing, machine learning via the PSSR library is being used quite broadly to add pixel detail and boost frame rate. But there are as many approaches as there are game engines. The increase in raw GPU power is being especially effective for Horizon Forbidden West. Apart from the detail boost, that extra graphics power is allowing for improvements to lighting and visual effects, as well as to the hair and the skin in cinematics.
Open up, guys. Jorv's orders.
Good enough for me.
After sitting through that entire trailer, the only upgrade I really saw was the price, and I was looking through the comments and a lot of people are clowning on it already. I could be wrong, but I don't exactly think people are happy to buy this right now. All you're really getting is a tiny bit more storage and just a couple of graphical upgrades that you can already get just by having a better monitor. And I feel like the price point is way too high for a game console right now, because at that price you could just buy a low-end PC, or you could just buy the PS5 with no disk drive and then add storage yourself. I'm not doubting that this console is powerful, but at the same time, it's basically just the PS5 I already have. But I don't know, comment down below what you think, because personally, I don't think I'm gonna run to the store to buy this console anytime soon. For this price point, I might as well just wait for the PS6, but that could also just be me. But also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, as it really makes me happy, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later.